my name's Stephen Anderson. I'm an enterprise coach with the Forward Trust. My focus is helping the Forward Trust clients with, or those that are considering self-employment or starting up a business. I am really, really pleased to have our first guest on board. Carwyn, if you could just briefly introduce yourself.
Yes, of course. And firstly, thanks, Stephen, for inviting me to take part and for being the first one. I'm honoured, just to say the least, so thanks for that. So my name is Carwyn Gravell, and I'm the Executive Director of Research and Development at the Forward Trust. So I look after all our business development in terms of bidding for contracts in the various sectors that we work in. And I also oversee the research side of our work, which is evaluating our services, our programs, interventions, and being involved in looking at the impact that they generate, and also new approaches, new ways of working, innovation, and so on, getting those underway.
We're going to look at different business topics that are relevant to our client group, and it's really helping them to improve their knowledge on the business startup process and, just the entrepreneurial route. And I always think that just continuous learning and self-development are always things worth investing in, essential. Business development is our topic today. So let's just jump straight into it and look at some things to do with business development. Carwyn, what does business development mean to you?
To me, Stephen, I think it's about solutions. It's about creating clear and compelling solutions. And that suggests, if we need a solution, that suggests there's a problem. There's an area of need. So it's understanding for me then what that problem or area of need is. And to do that, you need to understand who you're helping, who your audience is, and what they need help with. So I think it's being quite disciplined and curious about who you're trying to help. Yeah, and then that gives you the ground then to which, because you might have your own ideas, you might have your own instincts, your own insights, and that's often the starting point, but they always need to be matched to an area of need. So asking those questions, I think that's a big part of business development for me. And then when you've working on that solution, it's about bringing real clarity to the presentation, about making things simple for people. You want people, when you're proposing your business idea to them, you want them to smile, not scratch their heads. Yeah, it's really taking away that that friction from things. The other thing I'd say about business development and reflecting on my own career, I guess, is it's the best professional feeling when you sell something or you create something, a winning bid or whatever it is, whatever sector you're working in. Then yeah, winning is great. It's absolutely great. Or selling is great. So that's probably the best feedback you can get when you've landed a business proposition well, and it's succeeded. So it's very rewarding.
If you could describe either a life-changing incident or a funny incident you've encountered on your professional development journey that jumps to mind in business development. Anything jumps to mind that you could share with something on, whether it's good or bad, a mistake you've made, something that you've really proud of? Anything jumps to mind?
Well, there's plenty of mistakes, Stephen, over the years, but also, yeah, I think quite a few things to be proud of. But in thinking about that, it's always been with the help of others, yeah, with the support of others. So you've got to share your successes and your failures with those around you. But it just, yeah, thinking about my career, perhaps useful just to sketch out a few things that I've been involved in over the years. I've been with Forward now doing this role more or less for 7 years. Before that, I was with Blue Sky before they merged with Flaps to form Forward, and there I was mainly looking after fundraising. Whereas now it's business development, bidding and so on. And then before that, I was involved in I guess you call it a think tank organization, and we looked at various areas of social or public service delivery, social housing, health, criminal justice, and we worked with organizations to develop innovative approaches based on research, but also on product development and service development. So over that time, I was involved in lots of different aspects of business development, if you like. It's mentioned fundraising there and bid writing, but I was also involved in quite a lot of business to business sales activity. And I think was really helpful to have that varied foundation of different kinds of business development, different selling to be involved in. So if people can get their hands dirty, their sleeves rolled up in getting involved in different things, that's really good. And to give you an example of one of the things we worked on when I was working with that think tank, we were working on working with social landlords and addressing the challenge social landlords had is that they needed to understand a lot about housing law, being social landlords, but we weren't necessarily trained in that sphere. So they had to deal with quite complicated bits of legislation relating to eviction and things like that, without the legal training. So that was the need, that was the problem we identified, and this is about 20 years ago now, and what we developed was a e-learning solution. So it's quite innovative at the time. I mean, e-learning is now unknown to everybody. But we developed an e-learning package to help social housing practitioners understand the law. So we had to break it down and turn it into something easy to access and interactive. So we developed this, and then we were just thinking about how are we gonna market this? How are we gonna sell it? Because it was at the time, because it was online, then you needed to have a way of getting people to engage with it. So we worked up an idea of getting people to have telephone tours of the resource. So you were on one side, and the person you were speaking to on the other end of the phone just could see a screen, and you were walking them through the product. And to get to the point where you had people on screen looking at the product, because you had to do the sales bit of it, you had to call them, warm them up, get them interested, and do all that. So exactly. I didn't know anything about that at the time. So I signed myself up for a telesales course, a 2-day telesales course, and it was quite an unsettling thing to be, because I never considered myself to be a salesman necessarily at the time, but it was absolutely fascinating and absolutely formative for me, because it just set out the importance of asking questions. And that's a great way of getting somebody engaged. You ask them things, but you find out a little bit more about what their pain points are, what the challenges are, and so on, and then you can match what you've got to offer with what they say. So that kind of discipline of asking questions, I did that telesales course, and it's quite grueling, and as I say, a bit unsettling. But on the back of that, then I recruited a team of people. They were all graduates. So I recruited a team and put together a telesales course for them, doing role play and things like that. So although that's not perhaps that funniest story, but I think it's a good example of putting yourself out of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Really, and finding something out and then interpreting it and then applying it yourself. Yeah. And that's quite a rewarding process.
Do you know what? I think when you mentioned about comfort zone too. Uh, I think that is so, so important for, I think for anyone in life just wanting to develop. You know, if we stay in our comfort zone, we are not going to develop. And development comes when you step outside of it. And that is so important. And especially in business too, you're going to have to take risk. Take the best calculated risk you can, but take something, take some action. And I like that. You know, you booked yourself onto a course, you done something which you weren't used to, and it's enhanced you now. I'm sure you could be $1 billion salesman now if if you took that road.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, because without any real justification, things like telesales gets a bad name. Yeah, I don't think that's justified. But from understanding the process and the skill involved in it, when it's done well, of course it can be done badly, but when it's done well, they gave me a real appreciation of the arts of 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 selling, and it can be, yes, very creative, rewarding process. So I think
Mhm.
it's um, good to get those insights.
Excellent. And the final question: if there's 3 tips you would give someone who's focusing on business development, what 3 things would you say to them to sort of focus on?
That brings to mind, um, not not a tip, but a poem, and the poem is by Rudyard Kipling, and I think you asked for 3 tips, but this poem talks about six men, and the poem was, "I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why and when and how and where and who." So I think that's something that's a good discipline to keep hold of when you're working on things, and it relates absolutely to business development. Those questions: what, why, when, how, where, who. Ask yourselves those questions when you're developing your ideas and your business um, proposals, but also ask your customers those questions.
Carwyn, I that was excellent. I think that, actually that's going to stick on me. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into that later on this afternoon. That poem there, because I like, I like. Carwyn, thank you for your time. It is really much appreciated. And for the audience listening, we are going to be looking at other topics. We're going to be looking at marketing. We're going to be looking at effective use of technology in business. We're going to look at managing your money in business and other topics that will enhance you and growth. So yeah, just another thank you to Carwyn for your time, and thank you everyone.